Hi there, Eduardo. So it's nice to see that you've written another set of essays. Let's take a look at what you did here. The chart shows a collection of data about what kind of movies that young people prefer. Moreover, it describes the distinction between male and female. In relation to the male, in relation to males, all right, let's just fix that a little. The most preferred is comedy movies, which has the highest number at 145, not that is. It is followed by action films with 137. Furthermore, there is an average between animation, drama, and horror styles from 63 to 73. It's not really an average. It's a range. So you could have just said, furthermore, animation, drama, and horror films ranged in preference from 63 to 73. Would have been a more fluid way of saying this. Last but not least, the lowest one. That's not really terribly clear or very task one vocabulary. So let's change that and say the least preferred movie genre is romantic with less than 40, which means that the young men do not, well, you know what, don't try to kind of draw any conclusions here. So you say they do not have any interest in that kind of movies. Well, that's probably true, but I wouldn't have added that. That's not the kind of sentence that really helps you. You're simply reporting on the data that you see. So you could have just said the movie genre with the lowest preference is romantic films with less than 40, and then you're done, okay? So in relation to females, there is a similar aspect with comedy. That's the wrong word here, aspect, because it is the highest one, again with the word one. So let's change this sentence around a little bit. With regard to females, comedy was also the highest preferred genre with 137. However, that is followed by romantic with a not big number, with 116, which is very interesting because of that highlight the difference between male and female almost 4 times. Okay, that expression is really awkward here, so we have to definitely correct it. However, that is followed by romantic with a big, no, I don't like the word big. In general, in IELTS essays, I think there's really no place for the word big. It's too generic, too low level, so let's change that a little bit and say, however, that is followed by romantic with the large figure of 116, which is also 4 times higher than the same figure for men. All right, something like that would have been a better way to do this. Certainly, women also prefer drama and horror movies. You keep using the word ones. It's just not accurate. It's not the right word to use here. So certainly, women also prefer drama and horror movies. You never told me what the figure is, and then you just say, lastly, animation is the least preferred genre for females with a small figure of 54. But not much lower than, well, what was the figure for romantic movies? But still higher than the figure for romantic movies with men. I don't know. It's a little overcomplicated. You want to make this as clear as possible, and I think I like the idea that you've tried to make connections between your figures. Some of the language that you've used to do this is just coming off as a little too complex, and it's just losing its accuracy as well as its coherence, okay? Let's see. You've also left out something very, very important. It's the overview. The overview really shows the main trend, the thing that's the most obvious the thing that really sticks out. So usually we don't use any data here. So what you could have said in your overview for something like this is, there were a lot of things you could have said. Actually, you could have said that overall, both males and females preferred comedy movies. You could have said that while there were some similarities between men and women in their movie preference, there were also some considerable differences. So there were a bunch of things that you could have said here, okay? Let's take a look at your task 2. All right, so here it is, international marketing. Let's see what you said. Historically, international marketing is part of our life. However, many people believe that it allows the intrusion of countries with other interests. Opposite to this, we don't say opposite to this. We say in contrast, or on the other hand. Well, on the other hand means on the one hand. So you could have said also, however, okay, people want the expansion of business overseas, not the business, because that is necessary to the development of a country. In this essay, not I going to explain, but rather in this essay, I will explain both points of view and my opinion. Now, rather than informing your reader that you will discuss your opinion at some point, it's really a much better idea to include it in your introduction. This way the reader has that information before essentially starting off. Okay, so definitely include it whenever they ask you to do something here, like discuss both views and give your opinion. Make sure you cover that and you do that in your introduction. All right. All right, let's move on to the main body. On the what we don't say on the one side, we say on the one hand. So on the one hand, many people are against this idea because through the time, some countries have started to depend on other countries completely. Countries with more power in the world know how to approach these opportunities with unlucky countries. So using the term international marketing, they started to obtain benefits of resources which belong to the original country. One example of this, no comma, is how Russia or China are getting advantages of countries like Venezuela. Another example is how the USA has been collecting resources from countries in the Middle East. Okay, this is not really developed. You say examples of countries, but you never explain how these are examples of international marketing, essentially stealing the resources of other countries. So while I have the countries that you have in mind, what I don't have is how these countries are using the resources of other countries, how this applies to international marketing. So it's really a very underdeveloped paragraph. Okay? Yeah, like you said, Russia or China are taking advantage of countries like Venezuela. Well, I don't know how Russia or China are taking advantage of Venezuela, or at least how you think these countries are doing that. So that's information you have to supply. Okay? So, on the other hand, people think that international marketing is necessary because, firstly, there are countries without some resources and they require business with other states to obtain basic products for their people. For instance, New Zealand is an island with a lowercase I where it is impossible to get some mandatory food or items. Culturally, exchange ideas or traditions, Culturally, exchanging, ing, ideas or traditions is very important for our society. Any country can develop totally isolated. The most relevant advances have been through opportunities and challenges between people from different nationalities. Okay. Fine, but you haven't really talked about this at all. Culture, language, spreading ideas, a necessary and economical form of education. So you kind of began to talk about it, but again, there's absolutely no development. So you talked about New Zealand, but I really wanted you to say a little bit more about international marketing. You have to be careful that you're not talking about trade here, because international trade and international marketing are two very separate things. So you need to go into some example about how New Zealand is a good example of this, what it is benefiting and how it is benefiting from international marketing. Okay, and then you should have also given me some examples of this, exchanging ideas or traditions, and some of this idea of relevant advances. Well, give me an example. What kind of advancements have been made? Okay, so again, underdeveloped, and you need to be a little more specific. So taking everything into consideration, marking it as necessary, and it is a brilliant opportunity to bring a different point of view, no S, and new ideas to our countries. Okay, so Eduardo, I think you should have a pretty clear idea about what some of the weak spots of this essay are. For sure, the biggest thing for me is your task achievement. It's not really well developed. There is much more to be said in this essay, more details to be given, more more development of the topic. Okay. Also, your grammar has a lot of errors. It's pretty consistent throughout the essay, so that's another area that you need to work on. I would like to see you definitely applying to the course. I think that if you were to pursue the online course, you would find that there is a lot of help on how you can structure your paragraphs and your essays so that you're creating cohesive essays and really answering the topic as it is asked to you. I think you would really benefit from that kind of support. So please look into it, see if it's something that you can take advantage of, and I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Good luck.